Mom, I just can't, stared Greg as she interrupted. Aunt Irene, said his mother, correcting him. Whatever, Aunt Irene, whined Greg. This will not work. Please, let's call this off. Aw, don't think so, cuz. This is one commitment you are not getting out of, said Laura, coming in all dressed up now. Mom, you can drop us there, right? Sure, said their mother. We have to leave in like 20 minutes, said Laura, handing her a few boxes. The boys are excited. Here's what you asked for, and I'll find a few other accessories that go. Pick what you think, and I'll be back after finish putting on my face to help you. Calm down and just worry about yourself, said her mother, getting a chuckle out of Laura, running around excited. I'll handle the little touches for Gwen. Irene dug through one of Laura's boxes and pulled out a few silver bracelets, placing them on Greg's right wrist. She then found a simple heart pendant and put it around his neck before grabbing a charm bracelet with a series of hearts and Zoxo symbols and placed it on his right wrist before going back to the bedroom and returning with the earrings Laura had shown her earlier. The simple tiny diamond studs Greg had were now being replaced with very large silver chandelier dangling earrings with little pink jewels throughout, which sounded off like little chimes as his mother put them in his lobes. She took his hands and tried on a series of different rings on his fingers, as before he knew it, both pinkies, his left ring finger, and his right middle finger were donning pretty little rings. Told you those earrings would be pretty with that top, said Laura, returning now. They have the same shimmer as that top. Here, is this what you were thinking? Oh, that's beyond cute, said Irene, taking a super thin headband which had a big pink glittery rose offset flower on it. You look amazing, Laura. Thanks, Mom. I found your purse that matches those boots, said Laura, admiring herself. I'm sorry, I can barely control my excitement. It's too much, right? Greg looked at his sister, who was beyond giddy, on a touch overdressed in a short denim skirt with high baby blue fringe boots with a 2-inch heel and a sleeveless sapphire blouse. Her hair was pinned straight and swept to one side, and her makeup looked flawless, highlighted by glossy cherry red lips. Honey, relax, you look gorgeous, said their mother, understanding as she fussed just a little with Greg's hair. And you look so adorable, Gwen. I love that touch, Laura. Now let's get a few essentials in Gwen's purse and we're out of here. But Mom, I don't know what to do or how to act, whined Greg as his sister loaded his purse. I can't do this. I really can't. We'll talk in the car, dear, said their mother, running from the bathroom now. Let me get my pocketbook and car keys. As Greg's mother got out of the way, he saw the large pink flower protruding from his hair on the left side and reached up his fingers, feeling the very thin headband which blended invisibly into his sticky hair. His sister handed him a black suede juicy handbag and then startled him, spraying him quickly with some strong perfume. Easy, sis, whined Greg, gagging a touch. You're way out of control. Cut the shit now, Gwen. We're cousins, Missy, and from this point forward you're going to drop the whining and be nothing but a charmer, warned his sister, getting mean and taking out her phone, snapping a few pictures. Mess this up for me tonight and I'll send this to everyone you know. Hold your wrists straight out, please, and drop the attitude. His sister tucked her phone away in her purse and grabbed his arm, making him hold his forearm straight out as slipped the handbag straps up to his elbow. She pushed him ahead of her as he walked down the stairs and was shaking as he exited the front door into remaining 5 p.m. daylight as he headed down his front walk towards his mother's car at the curb. He never jumped into the back seat so quickly in his life as he nervously tried to avoid any eye contact as neighbors went about their business without noticing as his mother started the car. Both Laura and Irene coached and lectured him for a good 20 minutes as he sat there nodding and yesing them. So let's go through it again, Gwen, said his mother. Now, you've been too quiet. You do the talking. All you have to do is relax and just be like any other teenager. My name is Gwen Hanlon and I'm staying with you while my parents are away, said Greg. I'm going to do nothing to mess up this date for my cousin and I'm on my best behavior, okay? Is that fine now? Yes, cousin, in case I forgot, I want to say thank you whether you care that I said it or not, said Laura, checking her makeup in the mirror as the car pulled up at the restaurant. And for what it's worth, even though you don't want to hear it. You actually look pretty hot. And be yourself, said his mother. You're still 15. You like music, and bands, and play guitar. All those things are fine for a girl your age. It'll be good conversation. I love both of you, have fun. Laura slipped her arm through her brother's and guided him with her inside the restaurant. Immediately she grew excited seeing the guys waiting as she began waving as they came over. Hi, said Laura, immediately hugging Alex and kissing his cheek and then doing the same for Brad. Wow, you girl look fantastic, said Alex, thrilled to see them. And you never said your cousin looked like this. Oh, please, said Laura, elbowing Greg as he extended his hand. Hi, said Greg as Alex hugged him and kissed his cheek as Brad nervously smiled at him. Hi, I'm Brad, he said. Gwen, said Greg in his softest voice, shaking his hand. Well, let's get to our table, ladies, said Alex. They walked over as the boys held out their chairs as Laura and Alex did most of the talking as Greg did his best to smile and laugh at the little jokes. Every so often he caught little glances from Brad as he could see him checking him out as he was feeling uncomfortable, wondering if he had suspected something. The conversations continued as Greg did his best to stay quiet until he squirmed, accidentally kicking Brad's leg pretty hard. Wow, that's quite a kick, Gwen, said Brad, rubbing his thigh. Oh, I'm so sorry, said Greg, startled. I didn't mean it, I just got cramped up a bit and I'm not really used to boots like this. It's not problem. I just never expected a dainty girl like you to pack such a wallop, teased Brad, rubbing his leg. Are you soccer player or kickboxer or something? No, she's on varsity already like Laura, right? Said Alex. Cheerleaders that do all those gymnastics moves are in amazing shape. The things some of you girls can do are crazy. You have to have strong legs just to do half those flips. Yeah, sorry, we cheerleaders work on our legs a lot, said Greg, babbling. I'm used to being in sneakers, not boots like this either, so sometimes I get a little antsy. So would you two excuse us for just a minute? Said Alex. I'd like to show Laura something, and I'm sure you two could use the time to get to know each other better since we've been monopolizing the conversation. Laura shot Greg a look to be on his best behavior and happily clutched onto Alex's outstretched arm as they walked outside. So, I'm so sorry I didn't get to meet you sooner, Gwen, and I really appreciate you coming tonight, said Brad. When I heard Cindy got sick I was pretty bummed, but never imagined her replacement would be anything like you. Oh, thanks, said Greg, batting his lashes, trying to seem girly. That's very flattering. It's a shame a nice guy like you is leaving for Germany tomorrow. Thanks, I know it sucks, said Brad. But I have no choice. We're being moved there, but I didn't want my best friend to miss the chance to go out with your cousin. He is so damn shy and was really so looking forward to seeing her. That's so sweet, she was looking forward to seeing him as well, said Greg. Well, just for the record, right now I know he took her for a walk because he's asking her to a prom tomorrow, said Brad. I just want you to know that I would have loved to take you as well, but unfortunately, as you know, I'm on a plane first thing tomorrow. Just you coming out tonight to go on a date with a guy you know will be gone tomorrow tells me how much you care about your cousin, and it's really awesome. You're a special girl, Gwen. Oh, it's nothing, said Greg, flicking his wrist. She's like a sister to me. So just because I'm dying to know, would you have said yes to the dance, said Brad, looking right into his eyes. Oh, you mean the one you won't be here for, said Greg, laughing inside. Sure, of course. It's just too bad. So this is so exciting, said Laura, returning and hugging Greg before sitting down. Alex just asked me to his prom tomorrow. OMG, I need a dress. I need my hair done. This is so unexpected. Oh, that's fantastic, cuz, said Greg. I'm happy for you. Well, you two make a cute couple and I'm happy for both of you, said Brad, raising his glass. Gwen and I would have loved to join you, but we'll be there in spirit. Have a dance for us. Salute. Well, everyone, said Mike, looking at his watch. Let's get the check and hit the movie. I'd like to get there a little early, get a good seat, and some popcorn. Okay, just give us a sec to hit the ladies' room and we'll meet you outside, said Laura, winking at her brother. We're just going to freshen up. He followed her to the ladies' room as immediately she locked the door behind them and opened both their purses. She freshened and repaired Greg's lipstick and touched up his blush and eyeshadow. She turned her attention to herself, now fixing her makeup, and then took out some hairspray saturating both of their heads. Open wide, said Laura, spraying some minty breath spray in both their mouths. I won't be needing that, said Greg, looking at her. Sorry, but I hope I will, said Laura, hugging him so tightly. Thank you so much. Laura unlocked the door and they headed out of the restaurant, seeing the guys. Laura was on cloud nine, holding hands with Alex as they walked ahead of Brad and Greg as they strolled 2 blocks until they got to the movie theater. They bought their tickets and went in as the boys each bought a large bucket of popcorn and a large soda each for everyone. They headed towards the back of the theater as Alex didn't stop until he got to the last row and walked all the way down. Laura followed, grasping his hand as Greg sat next to his sister and Brad sat next to him. As the movie started, Greg looked over, seeing his sister snuggling with her head on Alex's shoulder as he had his right arm around her. He glanced over at Brad, who was being the perfect gentleman, sipping his soda and eating popcorn as the movie was becoming intense. Want some? Said Brad, offering his bucket to Greg. Can I get you anything? No, I'm fine, but thanks. I'll just take a little, said Greg, taking some kernels as Brad placed it back on his thigh. From time to time Greg would glance at Laura, happy for her in a way, but reality of his situation would stick in his mind as he would look down, seeing the ring of his lipstick on the straw of his soda, hoping the movie would end soon. Oh, Alex, you're so sweet, giggled Laura, whispering in Alex's ear as he could see her getting so giddy. And you're so beautiful, whispered Brad as Greg turned away to avoid Alex, realizing he noticed this. He moved towards Brad, trying not to watch his sister begin to make out with Alex, when he felt a soft touch on his left shoulder and glanced up, realizing Brad now had his arm around him, softly rubbing him. The relaxed feeling in his body got tingly now as he leaned forward, sipping his soda, moving away from his arm. As he heard the slurping sound of the empty cup, he began to lean back as he felt Brad's hand playing with his hair on his back. He fidgeted a little, having nowhere really to go, but didn't realize he would make his situation worse as Brad's arm softly tugged him towards him, thinking he was trying to cuddle in. I love snuggling too, whispered Brad as he munched his popcorn, as he found himself resting his head on Brad's left shoulder as Brad's index finger tickled his left shoulder and bicep. Here, take my soda, it's full. He looked over, trying to make eye contact with his sister for help, but she was fully engaged in a mad Frenching session, huffing and puffing with Alex while Brad put his soda in Greg's cup holder. He tried to calm his nerves a little by eating as he reached down with his right hand for some popcorn and almost jumped out of his skin, realizing he missed the popcorn bucket, and immediately jerked his hand upward, realizing he had pinched Brad's hard member through his jeans instead of grabbing a few kernels of popcorn he was searching for. Sorry, I, stuttered Greg. I didn't mean to. It's cool, Gwen, said Brad, chuckling and comforting him as he grabbed his hand and rubbed. No big deal. I didn't realize how cool those nails were. Oh, thanks, whined Greg, trying to calm down as he looked at his nails, not knowing what to do as Brad inserted his fingers through his. Greg felt trapped as he wanted to pull away and was beginning to panic as the movie got to some love scenes as the touching was becoming more intense. His stomach was turning as he watched Brad's right thumb rubbing his forehead and felt his other hand caressing his hair on his shoulders. He couldn't take it anymore and began visibly shaking as Brad moved his shoulder, tilting Greg's head as he looked up, seeing his face approach his. OMG, I'm so sorry, screamed Greg as he popped from his chair, knocking Brad's entire soda into his lap. I'll go get you napkins. I'm such a klutz. It's fine. No big deal, said Brad, saturated and sticky. No, I feel terrible, said Greg, climbing over him. I'll be right back. His sister was stunned as she couldn't believe what just happened and broke his kiss, chasing after him. What the hell are you doing? Said Laura as she grabbed his arm as she caught him in the lobby. Sorry, it was a real accident, said Greg. I just jerked my arm and panicked. He's all over me. I'm here helping you, but that wasn't part of the deal. He was about to try to kiss me. No way, yelled Laura, smiling. I didn't see that coming. How could you? You haven't even watched more than 10 seconds of the movie, said Greg as they were walking back with the napkins. He put his arm around me and was twirling my hair, rubbing my shoulder while you were busy sticking your tongue halfway down Alex's throat. Here, Brad, said Greg, handing him a ton of napkins. Sorry again. No big deal, said Brad, laughing about. If you wanted me to never forget you when I go back to Germany tomorrow, there might have been some better options, teased Brad. Yeah, well, it's a night I'm sure I'll never forget either, replied Greg, laughing as he sat back in his chair. He could see his sister grinning as she glanced at him as Greg sat back, but Brad wasn't shy about quickly wrapping his arm over Greg's shoulder, again tussling his hair. It was uneventful now as the movie finally ended, but as they walked outside into the lobby, there wasn't much he could do as Brad comfortably had his arm around him. As they tried to make their way through the crowd towards the exit, Greg quickly found himself being dragged by the hand by Brad, and as it dispersed found himself holding hands with their fingers locked as they walked. So I see my mom's car outside, said Laura as they all stopped in the entry foyer. I had an amazing time. Me too, said Alex as they held each other by both hands, staring at each other with stars in their eyes. Can't wait for tomorrow. Me either, said Laura, initiating a deep wet kiss. Well, I wish I didn't have to go, but it was a pleasure tonight, Gwen, said Brad. How about if I email you or text you and we can keep in touch? Oh, I don't know, Brad, said Greg, backpedaling. I'm sure you'll met some wonderful German girl in no time. I think it could be too painful for both of us. I guess you're right, said Brad as Greg extended his hand. Brad shook his hand, shaking it gently before reaching down and kissing it, and then pulled him in, hugging him tightly. Good night, said Greg as the hug stopped as he grabbed his sister's arm, breaking her daze. Nice seeing you, Brad, and good luck, said Laura as he was being dragged out a little. Good night, girls, yelled Alex. Greg never felt so relieved in his life as he jumped in his mother's car as she began to drive away. So from the looks of you, Laura, it went well, said her mother as Laura wiped her messy lips gloss with her finger. And how's my little niece back there? Thankful it's over, said Greg, smiling. Well, I bet you won't be pulling any more pranks for a while, said his mother, teasing. Mom, it was amazing. Thank you so much for helping me, and I love my brother, said Laura. He was the perfect little lady, and no offense, bro, but Brad and Gwen actually made a cute couple. Brad was head over heels for him. Ah yeah, that was too weird, said Greg, giving his mother a chuckle. I'm taking a shower the second I get home. Mom, so Brad asked me to his prom tomorrow, screamed Laura. I need a dress, my hair done, nails, everything. We've got to shop for something amazing. It's got to be perfect. Okay, said their mother. That's exciting, dear, but calm down, we'll do whatever we have to do tomorrow. Don't you have cheer practice in the morning, though? Sounds like it'll be a long, busy day. Yes, so I'm going right to bed, and in the morning we'll talk about everything, said Laura. I doubt I can even sleep after all tonight, but I'm mentally exhausted. That's a good idea, dear, said their mother, pulling into the driveway. I want to hear all about it in the morning. Every detail. You got it, Mom, said Laura. And certainly I want to hear the details about my darling Gwen as well, said their mother, looking at him in the rear-view mirror. You know, I didn't realize until you left, but I guess this counts as your first date. Very funny, Mom, said Greg nastily. You know what they say, dear, said his mother, teasing him. You never forget your first date. Open mouth, insert foot, Laura woke up her sleeping brother. Get out, you pain in the ass. I'm trying to sleep, Greg yelled at his sister, pulling the pillow over his head. Mom, he won't wake up, yelled Laura. Can't you wake him after you drop me off at practice? All right, but he's not going to fully cooperate with me, said their mother. It'll give him more time to sleep anyway. We'll stop at Cindy's, and then I'll drop you and come back here and wake up the sleeping beauty. They let him fall back to sleep until finally about 2 hours later his mother returned, shaking Greg awake. Gregory, wake up. His mother shook him. Get in the shower. We've got a busy day. Mom, come on, it's Saturday and I usually sleep in, said Greg. Not today, said his mother, ripping off his sheets. We've got a schedule to keep. A groggy Greg headed into the shower and then returned, seeing his mother waiting for him. Hey Mom, a little privacy please, said Greg. That's a privilege I'm afraid you lost after all your bullshitting last night, said his mother. You see, I had the pleasure of having a long conversation with Brad's mother this morning, and it seems you made quite an impression on him. Yeah, so, said Greg. That's what you wanted me to do, right? That's true, but what I never expected was that you told her son it was too bad he had to leave because it would have been wonderful to go to the prom with him, said his mother. You laid it on so thick that the boy was actually crushed that he couldn't take you. She said you told him it was just too painful to discuss, as you would have loved to have gone with him. Yeah, said Greg, laughing. That was a blast, jerking his chain. The guy is like such a big wuss. I had to have some fun with all the shit you girls put me through. That part one did enjoy. That's good to know, Gregory, because based on their son kicking and screaming, his parents have spent over $1,000 to push back their flights until tomorrow, so guess where you're going tonight, said his mother, standing with her arms folded. No goddamn way, Mom, said Greg, as his eyes almost popped out of his head. You can't make me do that. Really, can't I? Said his mother. This time you committed to this, and not me, even if you were joking. Last night it was punishment. Tonight it'll be fun. I'm actually going to enjoy this. Until you're 21, you do what I say, so I really don't care. Now stop giving me a hard time, because we'll be meeting his mother at the mall later. She's dying to meet you, so she'll be joining us dress shopping. Mom, please, whined Greg. This boy really likes me. I mean Gwen. I can't do this again. Aw, not my problem, dear. Let's get you dressed, said his mother as she tossed some panties on the bed now. Oh, and if you have any ideas about skipping out or destroying the night for this poor boy, I'd think again. Your sister has already set up a Facebook page for Gwen, with pictures of you and Brad. You know she'll publish it and friend everyone you know if you mess up this night for her or Brad. Mom, you wouldn't let her do that? Greg begged. After what you did to this poor boy, said his mother. I'd publish it myself. Now get dressed. Greg couldn't believe this was happening again as he turned away from his mother, stepping into the baby blue panties he lifted from his bed. When he turned back around, she wasted no time buckling the little matching training bra over his arms and buckling it in the back as he stood there with a sour puss look on his face. She took him by the arm and dragged him into her bedroom, sitting him at her vanity before she grabbed some sheer nylons and stuffed each cup. When she was satisfied with his little bumps, she switched on her blow dryer, brushing through his hair as she removed the moisture. She plugged in her hot rollers, flat iron, and curling iron as he sat there annoyed as she tried to figure out what she wanted to do. She then parted his hair right down the middle as she brushed through it and over, flipping it back and forth until any dampness was gone. She took a wire brush now, brushing it all straight into her palm, and grabbed a large jaw clip, twisting it on top of his head as she clamped it in a loose bun and turned her attention to his face. "What a mug," teased his mother as she began powdering his face. "Try not to whine for a minute and I'll figure out the hair later. I'm not putting too much makeup on you, but you need just enough for an everyday simple look." Greg stood there as she brushed on his blush and then some eyeshadow. She worked quickly as she darted back and forth between his lashes, coating them, and then took a dab from a little tub and rubbed it over his lips. "Good enough to look like you just came from practice," said his mother, lightly powdering him again. "Practice?" whined Greg. "What practice?" "Varsity cheer practice, of course," said his mother. "From what I understand, you told Brad you and Laura were on the varsity team together, so his mother agreed to meet us at the mall after practice." "I'm going to the mall like this," cried Greg. "In a cheerleader costume?" "Yes, thanks to your big mouth, you've got to appear like you just came from practice," said his mother. "It's easier than me putting another whole outfit together for you anyway, and I think we won't have to tape your little friend down there with the pleats, but we'll see. You might also be okay if we put you in a dress with some layers." "I know people there." "What if someone sees me?" cried Greg. "Don't worry about it. We're going to a high-end fashion mall." "Not the one you and your friends hang out at," said his mother. "I promised your sister she'd be in a designer dress, so guess what, so will you, Dot." His mother walked out of the room and returned with the varsity cheerleader outfit. She wasted no time unzipping it as Greg stepped into it as she zipped him up. As he sat on the bed, she slipped the little ankle socks over his feet and then tied his sneakers. "Mom, these are so tight," Greg moaned. "Can't I wear my own?" "Oh, stop. You're lucky we have some that fit you at all," said his mother. "You won't be in this outfit that long, so shush and just pretend to be a happy little girl for a while, please." His mother went into his sister's room and dropped a plastic box of accessories on her bed and looked at her watch. "Not another one of those itchy headbands," whined Greg, rolling his eyes. "That thing annoyed me all night." "I wasn't going to use one, dear." "Those are cute for a date look, but they don't work with cheer hair, silly," said his mother, pulling the jaw clip and brushing. "Think about it, if you were jumping and dancing, that headband would pop right out." "But obviously, I'm not a cheerleader," said Greg. "This is all bullshit. I'm already sick of all these curls and crap. Just give me a ponytail, and leave me alone." "Fine, Gregory." "I'm not going to embarrass us either," said his mother, pulling the plug from the hot rollers, annoyed with him, and opening her drawer, putting her extensions away. "You're right. You're only supposed to be coming from practice, but look at how your sister always looks. She never shows up anywhere a wreck. You want your hair in a pony, fine." She took the pointy tip of her rat-tailed comb and began creating a part straight across the center of the top of his entire head, brushing his hair furiously forward from ear to ear. Within seconds, his hair was covering his face in a mess as she brushed the rest of the sides and back away from his face. "Mom, easy, that hurts," cried Greg as she leaned his head forward, brushing furiously. "Oh, does it, poor baby?" teased his mother as she filled her hands with mousse and clenched some scrunchies between her teeth. "Sorry, but I'm getting out all the tangles." A cheer pony isn't exactly the same as your regular pony. In reality, it's low-maintenance style, but it does need some big-time hold. His mother massaged the thick mouse throughout the front of his hair, which hung in his face, and again brushed through it. She took her hairdryer and blew through it just a bit as he sat there wondering what the hell she was doing. When she turned off the dryer, he knew the familiar feel as she brushed all the hair from the back and sides of his head into her palm and lifted it before he heard the snapping of the rubber band. "Feel more normal, now?" asked his mother as he reached up, feeling all the hair off the back of his head before she slapped his fingers. "Don't mess with my work." "Not really, it's supposed to be at the back of my head, not pointing upward," Greg sighed. "Can you move it back down? It'll feel better." "But you'd look worse," said his mother, as she now added a second thicker band, lifting it higher. "Remember, you're a cheerleader, not a slob." She focused her attention to the front of his head, lifting little sections as she backcombed, teasing his hair and spraying a little section at a time. She was like a machine backcombing and spraying before she stretched a section away from his face towards her, and he watched her insert her flat iron midway and drag it away from him towards her, straightening it. When she finished each time, the section would just topple in front of his eyes until she began lifting his hair straight up, gathering the straight sections together between her fingers before she bent them back. He stared at her, wondering what she was doing with a mouth was full of bobby pins, as he could feel her sliding them through his hair near the knot of the pony, rotating back and forth. "Close your eyes for a minute," she said, placing her palm over his face as she saturated his forehead in hairspray and took her the tail of the comb, tugging at his scalp as she lifted. "We're done?" Greg asked, starting to get up. "Yeah, in the front," said his mom, pushing his shoulders back down as she went behind him now. "The back still needs work, sweetie." 5 more minutes, but who knew you were in a rush to go dress shopping?" "That's not funny, Mom," said Greg as he felt his mother tugging his hair in different directions in the pony, tightening it. "I've just had it sitting here like this." "Oh, please." "You're lucky this was a practice look, or you'd really be losing your mind if I had you sitting here doing row and rows of banana curls like I do on your sister for competition," teased his mother. "Don't tempt me, Gregory." "Oh, we're good, Mom," said Greg, backing down. "I'm sitting patiently." His mother now stepped over to the bed looking through the container of accessories before Greg's eyes bulged as she held up a huge blue and white bow. "That's huge," whined Greg. She walked behind him, ignoring his cries. "Not for cheer, honey," said his mother as he felt her wind it in. "Haven't you noticed the same ones on Laura?" "Like I'd look at her," said Greg, annoyed as his mother now was twisting her iron into a small section of his pony. "I thought you said you were done with all this curly crap." "No, what I said was you weren't going to sit for an hour while I do tons of banana curls." "If you look over your shoulder, you'll see the spiral curling iron sitting there," said his mother, basically ignoring him. "I didn't say anything about doing nothing, though. This will be pretty quick with this big barrel." She wound and only let the iron sit in each little pony section for about 15 seconds as she worked, curling and spraying. He sat there having little choice, until finally she placed it down and took her fingers, running them through his hair, pulling at it before holding his pony straight up and spaying it. "Okay, you're looking adorable," said his mother, lifting his chin and looking at her work. She took her mascara wand and gave another coat to his eyes and freshened his lip gloss before handing him a purse as he got up. "Let me just change and then we're off, honey," said his mother, going to her bathroom. Greg was happy to finally get up, but not too pleased when he spun around, seeing his new look. "I am so dead if anyone sees me," he said as he stared at himself transformed into a varsity cheerleader. In the front, his hair had been completely pulled back off his face and arranged in a high poofy straight back look, which faded into the large blue and white glitter outlined bow, which fronted his high pony. He reached up his hand, touching his hair in the front, which felt like concrete, barely moving as it rolled back, teased a 3 or 4 inches above his forehead. He tilted his head to the left, getting the full view of his hair exploding fountain style in large thick waves from the high-top pony, and twisted his body carefully, looking at himself in the cheer outfit. It was extremely uncomfortable seeing his legs fully on display from under the short skirt, but even more disturbing realizing his mother was right, no little bump was on display, as it was hidden under the pleats of the skirt. The cheer outfit was light blue in color and trimmed in white with some gold piping. Across his slightly enhanced chest were the school letters in white and gold, and on his feet were simple white Reebok sneakers with light blue ankle socks, decorated with tiny pom-poms. His makeup looked quite natural, with pink blush and eyeshadow, even though his carnation pink lip gloss shined brightly and his lashes were extremely thick. "Okay, Gwen," said his mother, teasing him as she came out. "Let's go get your sister." "Sorry, I mean cousin," and hit the mall. Greg followed his mother and quickly jumped in the car. They drove to the school picking up Laura from practice and headed to the mall. "OMG. He's looks so cute, Mom," said Laura, flicking his ponytail as she jumped. "I am so excited about tonight." "Stay calm, sweetie," said his mother as they drove off. "I know you're excited, but it's never good to let a boy feel like you are too crazy for him." "I think that ship has sailed already, Mom," Greg said, sarcastically. "Do I sense a little jealousy?" said Laura, snapping on him. "Yeah, right," said Greg nastily. "You and Mom put me in this shit." "I'm not jealous of anything." "I'm sorry, my little cousin, but it wasn't me that got Brad all worked up," said Laura. "I meant I have to give you credit. It couldn't have been easy for him to say enough about his little date that his parents would spend thousands to delay their trip for you anyway." "Girls, stop," yelled their mother. "Sorry, Mom, but even though I have to admit he looks decent as a girl, it's still hard to believe," said Laura. "You better be on your best behavior at the mall, and especially once you meet your boyfriend's mother. I doubt she wants her son to be with such a little bitch. I expect my niece to be a perfect little lady." "A little charmer," said his mother. "Right, Gwen?" "Yes, Mom," said Greg, rolling his eyes. "You better be, asshole. Don't embarrass us, and don't pick a dress that's more expensive than mine," whined Laura. "Remember, this is my night, and you're just there as arm candy for Brad." "Laura, you know I hate that type of talk," said their mother, getting annoyed. "I wouldn't worry about Gwen's dress either, because Brad's mother is paying for it. I argued with her and she wouldn't take no for an answer." "Are you kidding me, Mom? Those dresses are expensive." "Wow, they must have some money," said Laura. "But at least that's good for you, as you save some money and I can buy a better dress now." "Why bother, Mom?" Greg teased. "She probably won't be in it that long anyway." "I hate you," said Laura, grabbing his ponytail and yanking it very hard from the back seat. "Cut it out, girls," said their mother, breaking it up. "This is ridiculous, and I'm not having this crap with either of you. Mess his hair up and I just might not let you go to prom, Laura." "Sorry," said Laura. Greg was stunned at his sister's attack from behind and gave her the nastiest look possible. "Turn back around, Greg," said his mother. "And everyone calm down and relax. We're almost there and I expect both of you on your best behavior. Embarrass me, and you'll regret this day forever." Greg sat there with his arms folded, pouting, until finally they arrived. As they pulled up, he saw Brad standing there with a well-dressed woman, who he couldn't believe could be Brad's mother. "You must be Gwen's aunt." "I'm Hillary," said the woman, extending her hand and hugging their mother as Brad took the opportunity to immediately hug Greg. "Yes, it's so wonderful to meet you in person." "I'm Irene, and this is my daughter Laura," said their mother as Hillary hugged her. "And obviously this is Gwen." "I'm so thrilled to meet all of you," said Hillary, shaking their hands and squeezing Greg as she hugged him. "Oh, Brad, she is so adorable. I see exactly what you were raving about. What a beauty Laura is as well. I can hardly wait to see you two dressed up. This is going to be so much fun. Are you as excited about this as I am, Gwen?" "I bet you are." Oh, well sure I guess, said Greg, looking at his mother for guidance. It's been quite a shock to us, Hillary, but of course she's absolutely thrilled, said Irene. Gwen's just a bit nervous, and the shy type. Oh, don't be, sweetie, said Hillary, putting her arm around him. When a girl can look this pretty in a simple cheerleader outfit, wait until we get you into some gorgeous dress. Look at my Brad, he gets nervous just saying hello, but he got past those nerves and begged us to move our flight so he could see you. So don't be nervous, because you two are going to make a fantastic couple tonight. Oh, thank you, Mame, said Greg, ready to pee himself. Okay, well you guys have fun dress shopping, and I'll see you later, Mom. Brad kissed his mother's cheek. Mom, text me when you are going to pick me up. I'll probably still be at the arcade. Okay, dear, said Hillary. See you girls, said Brad, squeezing Greg's hand gently and kissing his cheek before whispering in his ear. Thanks for tonight, and you are the most beautiful cheerleader I've ever seen. Greg's face was beet red from embarrassment as his mother smirked, seeing Brad kiss his cheek and whisper to him. So, are we ready to shop, ladies? Said Hillary with enthusiasm. I'm dying to, replied Laura excitedly. This should be fun, and I know Gwen can hardly wait, said Irene, struggling to contain her smile, staring at Greg as they began walking. As they headed into a huge designer dress shop, Greg followed his mother and sister like a nervous puppy dog as they discussed ideas with the saleswomen and selected a few items off the rack. Hillary and I will sit here and you girls model for us, said Irene. You'll help your cousin, right, Laura? Of course, we'll help each other, said Laura as they both had a pile of garments over their arm. Greg followed his sister to the changing room as she could barely contain her excitement. She quickly jumped into her first dress and ran outside to model it, and then returned, helping him out of his cheer outfit as reluctantly he let her dress him. This thing is huge, whined Greg as he stepped into a long emerald ball-type gown as she zipped him up. Are they kidding? So you'd rather be in a skimpy dress, then? Said Laura, holding up a tiny silver one. In a second, you'll be getting your wish, because this one is the next one you'll have on. Now just go out there, shut up, and model because we'll have to tape you up soon. He quivered as he walked outside as the two mothers examined him. Spin for me slowly, dear, said Hillary, twisting her finger as he slowly turned, seeing her examine every inch of him. Okay, honey, let's see the next one, said his mother. Each time he returned to the dressing room, his sister would help undress and redress him, mostly caring about herself, but doing what her mother wanted as she removed the duct tape from her purse and helped tuck him back. He would model a silver sequin short dress, then a nude-colored mermaid-style gown, followed by a red taffeta flowing 3/4 length frock, then a seafoam strapless cocktail dress, and finally an opal form-fitting backless tunic with a sparkling puffy skirt before the saleswoman brought in a half-dozen more. He was becoming almost immune to modeling as he had tried on so many until finally he realized he was alone as his sister had been gone a while. He sat there waiting patiently until finally she returned smiling, as the saleswoman now entered with her. Just keep the skirt on while she gets the right fit, said Laura, unzipping the back of his tunic and tossing it on the bench. We just discussed your little fit problem. What problem? Said Greg, embarrassed, covering his bare chest, seeing his sister point to her boobs when he realized what she meant. Oh. Meaning you need a little help, said Laura. Don't be self-conscious, dear. I'm here to help, said the woman, taking his hands off his chest. I discussed this with Hillary and your aunt, and we've all had this issue when we were your age. The blossoming issue, said Laura. Like you haven't. It takes time to develop, and we all needed a little help when we were young, said the woman, wrapping a padded bra over his chest and slipping in his arms. Before you know it, your hormones will be raging and you won't need any help, but for now we'll need to make a few adjustments to fill out these dresses, or they'll be sliding off you, honey. Now just let me do my thing, and when we finally pick the final dress, we'll make sure you have on the right undergarments, but for now we'll do this heavy support and adjust it from there. Greg stood painfully still as she tightened the straps on each arm and then pulled at the little natural tissue he had under each cup. She slid a few silicone inserts in and out of each cup, pushing and prodding, until she finally got the nice firm fit she wanted as he looked down, astounded at his little breasts in a nude-colored underwire push-up bra. "See, that should work," said the woman, tightening the bra one last time and satisfied with her work. "Okay, resume trying on your dresses, and they should fit much better now, honey." His sister was smirking as she helped him off with the skirt and into the next dress. He looked down, seeing his little cleavage as he again modeled for his mother and Hillary another 5 or 6 times, before finally he saw his mother look at Hillary and her nodding back at Irene as she got up. "Don't move, sweetie," said his mother, touching the fabric as she circled him. "It's hard to beat a Versace," said Hillary, as she got up and they inspected him closely. "This would work with those metallic shoes you were mentioning, or even something darker than the dress." "It would, but it's got to be too expensive, Hillary, and I'm sure I don't have a bag or shoes to match that for her," said Irene. "This is getting very pricey." "Nonsense," said Hillary, smiling as she lifted his ponytail. "Indulge me for a moment." "May I?" "Sure," said Irene, nodding. Hillary now proceeded to pull the scrunchie from his ponytail and play with his hair, fluffing it out before holding it up and then to the left. She grabbed a set of long dangling earrings and held one near his ear as she moved his hair around trying to envision things. "We have some pretty sensational options with this, and I know a few stores where we'll find the right accessories to match this," said Hillary. "Don't you just love it, Gwen?" "Oh well," stuttered Greg, twisting his eyes to his mother as she gave him a look. "I love it on her," said his sister, grinning as his mother approached, touching the fabric. "Go for it, Gwen." "No, please." "It's too tight," mouthed Greg silently to his mother and sister. "I can barely breathe in this one." "What was that, Gwen dear?" questioned his mother. "She said it took her breath away," said Laura, smiling. "She's right. It's so her, isn't it?" "Good, it's decided then," said Hillary, ecstatic as she handed her credit card to the saleswoman. "This dress was made for her, Irene, and it's such a nice contrast from Laura." "I love that." "I agree, Mom," said Laura, smiling. "I think that is perfect for both of us." "Laura, please," said his mother, rubbing her chin and feeling emotional. "I'm sorry, Hillary, I'm just not used to her like this." "I know, Irene," said Hillary, rubbing Irene's back. "They grow up so fast, but you know every once in a while it's nice to see them as princesses again." "Well, okay," said his mother, circling him and lifting his hair. "I've got to do like half up or maybe sweep to one side, or something fancy here then. This dress does give me some nice options." "Well, let's go so we can get started on getting you girls together." "Irene, please, you won't need to worry about anything," said Hillary, looking at her watch. "Girls, I have a surprise for you." "Irene, I hope you don't mind, but I took the liberty of booking the girls at the Pinake Salon at 4:30 p.m. for the works. It's my little treat, and please don't worry, it's on me of course." "Really?" questioned Laura, getting super excited. "That would be like, unbelievable." "Hillary, please, I couldn't let you do that." Irene interrupted. "That's just too much. I planned on doing their hair and makeup. It's not a problem, and we've still got to go shoe shopping." "Irene, it's nothing, and I've already taken care of everything, so it would be a shame to waste it," replied Hillary, almost pleading with her. "Please, I know how I've put you out on all this last-second stuff, so come on. Look at the girls, you know they're dying for a good pampering before the big night, and I'm sure you know their shoe sizes." Irene looked over at Laura, practically begging her with her fingers folded together, and then at Greg, who was already stunned, staring at his little boobs. "Well, all right," said Irene, as Laura practically knocked her over, hugging her. "But no more, Hillary. You're spoiling these girls rotten." "I know, but I love it," said Hillary. "I never had a daughter, so I've been looking forward to dressing one my whole life. I know I can get carried away." "Okay, thanks Hillary, please girls," said Irene as she ran over embracing Greg, and Laura joined her. "You ladies are welcome," said Hillary. "Now you girls go change, and we've got to get moving." Laura helped Greg quickly back into his cheer outfit, and quickly they were out of the dressing rooms. "Irene, I'll drop the girls at the salon, while you wait for them to pack up the dresses and pay for Laura's," said Hillary. "I'll meet you at the mall in say 30 minutes. "Sounds good," said Irene, watching Laura drag at her brother. It was a short ride to the beauty salon as Laura walked arm in arm, holding her brother, acting all giddy like two excited girlfriends. "Good afternoon, Sebastian," said Hillary. "These are your 4:30 appointments, Laura and Gwen." "How wonderful to see you young ladies," said Sebastian, flicking his wrist. "I have them down for facials, a mani/pedi, hair, and makeup. I hear this is for a prom tonight, so obviously we'll do appropriate styling with some wonderful evening looks. Is there anything else, ladies? Maybe some lights, a little contouring, glam you up a bit?" "Sebastian, I want the works for these girls." "Don't tell Irene, girls, but don't skimp on them, Sebastian." "Spare no expense today, dear," said Hillary, smiling at them. "Not that these two need any major help, but let's do it upright." "So girls, did you have anything special in mind?" said Sebastian. "Hillary, I was thinking about some foils to give me some dimension," said Laura, with an inquiring look on her face. "Is that too much?" "Absolutely not," said Hillary. "That's nothing. You get anything you'd like, dear, as long your mother would approve." "Oh, she would," said Laura. "I've been dying for them, and she was going to do it herself, but this just all happened so suddenly." "I know," said Hillary. "And did you have any preference, Gwen?" "I don't even know where to start here," said Greg, looking at his sister. "I usually just go with what my aunt and cousin say." "Don't worry, dear. We've got some amazingly creative stylists here," said Sebastian, turning his cheek and looking at his hair. "We can do quite a bit with you. Now, you ladies head to the back and you can change into some robes and we'll begin. When you come out, they'll be ready to wash you out, and we'll discuss some options while we start your facials." Greg didn't understand half of what they were saying as his sister quickly helped him out of the cheer outfit. "Nothing crazy, Laura. What is this foil shit you were talking about?" said Greg as he slipped on his bathrobe. "I just want to get this night over with. It's highlights, and you're not getting it." "I am," said Laura as they started out. "Don't worry, last thing I want is you upstaging me anyway. I'm sure Mom will make them keep it simple, but obviously you'll have to look appropriate, so just go with the flow. It's no big deal, but you can't look like a rag in that dress you picked." "I didn't pick anything," whined Greg, following her. "I know, dear, and that's not a big deal," said a woman, startling them as he looked up as she wrapped a thick plastic cape around his neck. "I'm Nancy, and I'm your stylist, Gwen. Sebastian will do Laura, and I'll do your hair. Now from this point on just relax, and let me concentrate on making you beautiful. Sit." "Oh, sorry," said Greg, rattled as she patted her chair. "Sure, I guess." As Greg sat down, she removed the pins in his hair, letting down his little loose poof, and ran her fingers through it, analyzing it. "Can I see that dress again?" said Nancy, taking Hillary's cell phone as she came over. "Here, look at these two," said Laura, showing her pics from her phone of the date from yesterday, as she sat in Sebastian's chair next to her brother. "Did she have in a couple of wefts in this one?" said Nancy. "Yes, my mom's clip-ins," said Laura. "They have the same texture and color." "Got it." "So girls, here's what I think," and Sebastian chimed in. "Please," said Nancy, brainstorming. "Laura, if you're set on doing deep foils, which I think would looking amazing on you, then my suggestion would be that we can do balayage on Gwen, and that will be a nice contrast, ladies, and definitely accentuate what you are doing with your dresses." "That sounds so trendy," said Hillary. "I love that idea." "It can be trendy. It's hot right now, and these are young girls, so we want to keep hip yet be a bit formal for a prom," Sebastian explained. "That picture you gave me, Laura, of ScarJo in a crossed updo with a few tendrils and a high back, I think would look wonderful on you, especially with your face shape and definitely after the foils. I think you'll dazzle with what you'll be wearing. If we do that on Laura, then I suggest we do something chic and tight on Gwen. If I get the tones and fade of the ombre to really blend well, then we can really pull that off, especially if you let me go a little romantic with a style. I think it could look amazing with her dress," said Nancy. "She definitely needs some major layering, but the end result would be sensational. How does that sound, Gwen?" "Wow, confusing honestly," said Greg, looking at his sister, giving him a stern look. "But sure sounds like you really know your stuff, and it's well, let's say, a different type night out for me." "Thanks, honey. I know it's a big night out." "Don't be nervous, girl," said Nancy, putting her hands on his shoulders. "You're going to be gorgeous. So Hillary, we'll start with some shaping on both girls, and then we'll do the foils and balayage. Once we start, we'll begin the facials and makeup, and then we'll weave in their nails while they're rolled up. Oh, and Laura not so much, but I'm going to suggest we do a little threading on Gwen. So are we good with all that, ladies?" "That's fabulous," said Hillary. "I can't wait to see them." "Good, then let's go wash you out, ladies." "We've got work to do," said Sebastian as they followed them to the back. Nervously, Greg sat across from his sister, not really understanding the lingo as Nancy leaned his chair back. She adjusted the positioning of his head, lifting his hair into the sink, and switched on the water as she scrubbed his scalp. It was quite relaxing as he sat with his eyes closed as she massaged his head, peeking over, seeing his sister and next to him getting the same treatment as Nancy walked away for a minute while he sat there, feeling a little tingling at his scalp. "Well, don't you look so relaxed today?" said a familiar voice, as Greg's eyes popped open. "Cindy," mumbled Greg, stunned to see her looking down at him with a head full of curlers. "Yup, it's me," said Cindy. "How interesting seeing you here, Gregory." "Oh, yeah. Stuttered Greg. "Quite a surprise. So Cindy, about yesterday." "I'm really—" "Stop right there, my little friend, Gwen," said Cindy, getting annoyed. "No need to dwell on the past, as obviously I'm feeling better." "Oh, thank goodness," Greg said nervously. "Wait, you know about Gwen?" "Of course, I'm looking at her, aren't I?" "Whose cheerleader outfit did you think you were in today?" said Cindy. "Your mother borrowed it from me?" "Oh shit," said Greg, embarrassed. "Wow, hope you're not still mad at me." "Funny you mention shit, isn't it?" "Yeah, I've stopped shitting myself finally, but am I mad at you?" whispered Cindy in his ear. "Of course not. Why would I be mad about going to the prom with the school's biggest dweeb, when I should have been going with a hot hunk? That wouldn't get me mad, would it?" "Cindy, I'm sorry," whispered Greg. "If I could have predicted any of this, you know I would never have done it. Please, I'll make it up to you." "Oh, you will, all right," Cindy giggled. "This should be fun tonight, and don't worry, I'm sure the lovely Gwen will be more beautiful than ever tonight." "That's not funny." Greg was getting annoyed. "You're right, beauty is a serious business," said Cindy, in a serious tone. "That's why I'm so glad you came here. I bet you didn't know that Nancy is a good friend of my aunt, and she's an amazing stylist. I told her you were my friend and I overheard that wonderful discussion with Brad's mother, so I don't you need to worry about a thing, because what they've got planned for you should knock Brad's socks off." "What did you tell her?" "She was suggesting all sorts of stuff to Brad's mom that I didn't understand," whined Greg. "Cindy, please." "No reason to shit your pants like I did, dearie. It's just hair and makeup," Cindy smiled. "See you later when you're beautiful." Greg began sitting up to yell at Cindy as Nancy came back, pushing his head back as she gave it one final rinse. "So, you look like you had a nice chat with Cindy," said Nancy, making small talk as she scrubbed him. "She's a great girl. Now let's get moving because I've got to get going on you and still take out her set. It'll be exciting for you girls tonight." "Oh, I can hardly wait," said Greg sarcastically as she dried his head and wrapped it in a towel. He followed her to her chair as she parted the wet hair down the middle and combed it straight down. He was shaking a bit as he could see through the wet hair in the mirror as she worked behind his back, stretching some sections and trimming away just small clippings between her fingers. "I'm sorry, sweetie," said Nancy, spinning his chair away from the mirror. "I'll do the princess reveal thing for you later. I know this can be exciting but nerve-wracking when you have a big date and you're getting a new cut." Greg wasn't sure whether he should be nervous or fume inside, as he sat there trying to tune out the stretching and snipping as Nancy worked. When she finished the back, she lifted and trimmed it each side, as it wasn't too bad, seeing nothing but small trimmings roll down his cape as she worked. Finally she brushed most of his damp hair away from him before creating a vertical part that extended from a few inches below and behind his right ear and extended across to the other. He looked out through his long damp hair until she took the middle from temple to temple between her fingers and brushed through it a few times, before positioning her fingers on his face at lip level and startling him, snipping straight across. "Sorry, sweetie," said Nancy as she twisted the section before clipping it on top his forehead. "Sometimes I get that nervous reaction when I layer. Try to sit still, okay, as we're going to start the balayage now?" She brushed through the majority of his hair, now parting it down the middle and creating almost two large loose pigtails-like sections on each side. When she finished, he could see that she had put on her gloves and was picking at each side, smothering the lower 3 or 4 inches and wetting them as he sat there patiently, wondering what she had just snipped from his hair. "Okay, round 1, sweetie," said Nancy. "They'll start you facial now and I'll see you in about 20 to 30 minutes. I'm going to tilt you back a little, just let your hair hang down. Don't touch it as it'll be damp while it processes. You're in good hands." A woman now began coating his face with some oils as she massaged the substance in with her fingers. When she finished, she would gently pat his face, removing the moisture, repeating the process a few times before massaging in a cream and switching on a small motorized buffer as she began cleaning his skin. He was almost falling asleep when finally she switched it off, wiped down his face, and another woman appeared, holding out what looked like fishing line as she pushed his lids, holding them with her fingers. He could feel a soft touch at his brows as she seemed to be pushing at him before she eventually allowed him to open his eyes. "About 5 more minutes, Gwen," said Nancy, as he saw her above him now. "Curl her lashes while we're waiting, and that'll put us ahead for later." Greg had no idea how to comment, seeing the lash curler squeeze at his upper lash on the right eye as he sat watching Nancy coat the edge of a false lash with glue before finally released him. A quick blink was quickly replaced with Nancy's finger pressing and holding at his upper lash line before she finally released him as they wasted no time positioning the curler, squeezing the other lash. "Oh, perfect," screeched Nancy happily as a timer went off as she pushed down the other lash on his left eye now. "1 SCC for this to take, and we'll wash you out, hon." As Nancy finally removed pressure from his left eye, she then rose his chair back up and tapped his thigh to follow her to the sink. He knew the drill, sitting back as she cautiously dipped the back of his hair into her basin and switched on the water. It was quick this time as she did a speedy rinse before she sat him back up, and he could see her take a brush before pulling his hair off his shoulders with her plastic gloves on. For the first time he was alerted that she was using some chemicals on his hair, as he could see her dipping the brush in a bowl before applying the mixture, painting about 4 to 6 inches from the root as she stretched his hair, saturating in a downward motion. "What's going on now?" Greg asked, getting worried now. "This seems to be taking forever." "You're such a nervous Nellie, Gwen," said Nancy, taking off her gloves. "As you get older, you'll learn you can't rush beauty, and everyone's hair processes differently. We're in the second part of the balayage process, and your hair is lifting perfectly, so just close your eyes and take it easy. In the meantime, I'm going to start your makeup." Nancy rolled over a large card and opened a few cases with MAC on the cover. With her fingers, first she began dotting foundation all over his face and then carefully blended with a little sponge. She seemed to be mixing and matching tones as she worked under his eyes and down the sides of his nose with a liquid, before taking some form of powder across the bridge of his nose, forehead, chin, and neck area. "You're going to be glowing tonight," said Nancy, brushing blush to his cheeks. "So tell me about Brad." "I hear he's a hunk." "I can't think of him like that," cried Greg. "I just think of him as a friend." "I feel for you, honey," said Nancy, taking a liquid liner to his lids. "It has to be hard to meet a guy that likes you this much, and you know is leaving." "Oh, yeah, of course," said Greg, playing along as she began blending his eyeshadow. "Well, no matter what, just enjoy the night," said Nancy, brushing on some mascara on him. "Thanks," said Greg, rolling his eyes as she caught him doing it. "No, seriously, Gwen," said Nancy, outlining his lips with her pencil. "It'll only hurt inside if you let it, Gwen. At your age, there'll be plenty of boys interested in you. Trust me, when I'm done with you, you'll need to beat them off with a stick." "That's okay, Nancy," said Greg as she began filling in his lips with a brush. "I just want to get it over with." "You say that, but no, you don't," said Nancy, carefully glossing them up. "Trust me, we've all been nervous on nights like this. It'll be a night you'll never forget, because trust me, I remember every little detail about my first prom. Just embrace the night and enjoy being the belle of the ball regardless of the future. Now I'm going to wash your hair out, and we're right on schedule." Nancy switched on the sink, again taking her time washing, rinsing, and conditioning his hair. When she was satisfied, she sat his chair back up, wrapping his hair in a towel as he sat forward. She removed and changed his wet cape as she led him back to her chair as he sat down, as she now brushed his hair away from face. To his right, he could see her grabbing long silver pins, squeezing the little hinge as she slipped them into his hair, lifting sections as she brushed through some others. She began working rapidly now as he watched her select the first red roller, tug a small section of his hair while coating it in a gel, and twist it into his hair vertically. The small talk about boys was gone now as the uncomfortable conversation was stifled with her clenching some pins in her mouth as she clipped section after section and twisted in rollers. As she finally came around to the front, she used some bigger rollers at his crown before stretching a hairnet over his head and tapping his thigh. "Okay, let's get you under dryer number 4, and I'll have the nail techs work on you while you set," said Nancy as he followed her across the room. As Greg sat, she pulled down the bonnet, switching on a timer before 2 women began his nails. He didn't mind the slight massage on his feet as the first tech worked on his toes while the other placed his left hand on a small fold-out table as she began pushing at his cuticle. "You okay, cuz?" said his sister, startling him as she tapped on the bonnet. "What do you think?" said Greg sarcastically, looking at his sister all made up, also with a head full of rollers. "Honestly, I think your makeup looks incredible," Laura said. "I'm actually looking forward to seeing how your hair turns out. I think you're going to look amazing tonight." "Isn't that great?" said Greg nastily, startling the nails techs as they looked up. "Hey, I'm trying here. Don't be bitchy to me, or embarrass us," said Laura, lifting the bonnet and speaking in his ear before dropping it back down. "Sorry ladies, she's just nervous. It's a big night." Greg sat there annoyed as he watched his sister walk over to her hairdresser's station, sitting down as he was taking out her curlers. He had really nothing else to look at as he could see Sebastian unroll each strand and insert pin after pin as he watched her updo taking shape as it rose in height, being erected on top of his sister's head. He felt like he was really baking with his left hand under a dryer while they worked on the other, before finally Nancy returned lifting it as she checked him after hearing a beeping sound. "I think it's holding nicely," said Nancy, switching off the dryer and unrolling a sample. "You cool down a bit while they finish your nails, and then we'll take down your set, honey." He sat there patiently, having little choice as he noticed his mother come in now and walk over, chatting with his sister while Sebastian was finishing up her hair. She turned and smiled at him as she gave him a little wink before she returned to chatting with Laura and then walked back outside. Within a few minutes, she returned carrying a few large garment bags and a few shopping bags with her cell phone glued to her ear as she followed Sebastian to the back room. When she returned, she headed towards Greg as she was just a few steps ahead of Nancy. "How'd you like your day of beauty, little missy?" teased his mother, looking over his hair and lifting his chin smiling as she saw his face. "Oh, I'd say she loved it," said Nancy, as she cut in. "You must be his aunt." "Hello, I'm Gwen's hairdresser Nancy." "Wonderful to meet you, I'm Irene." "Hello," said Irene. "So she's been no problem then?" "I'm happy to hear it, as she can be a bit bitchy at times." "She's been an absolute doll." "I mean obviously she's been a bit nervous, but who wouldn't be under the circumstances," said Nancy. "I remember when I was her age, and how nervous I was around a cute boy, let alone worrying about my hair and dress and everything. Even without all that, it can be so nerve-wracking asking for a makeover." I give her a lot of credit deciding to go trendy with the cut and color she picked, but it's going to look sensational with the dress. "Really? This is so out of character for her," said his mother, turning and giving him a smirk. "I'm so looking forward to seeing the end result, but her makeup I have to say is fabulous." "So let's do it, sweetie," said Nancy, switching off the nail dryer. "Your nails turned out just like you wanted, didn't they?" "Well," said Greg, stuttering, now, all worried as he looked down at his long shiny cranberry-colored nails. "Gorgeous choice, honey." "I love some of the little nail jewels," said his mother, pinching him. "She'll have to get used to nails like this. She's more used to biting them." Greg was fuming inside now as he followed Nancy back to her salon chair. He sat there as his mother and Nancy chatted away as he tried tuning out everything while Nancy removed his curlers. She seemed to work mostly with her fingers and a pick, separating and arranging his curls as she was saturating him section by section in hairspray. When she got to the front of his head, she tugged at his hair, twisting in her curling iron as she pulled it left as he was annoyed by the tension and her pulling his roots. He looked up, seeing her pull it across his face while she spaded again before digging into his scalp behind his ear on the right. "So pretty," said his mother, wiping a tear as finally Nancy unclipped his cape. "Not at all what I expected, and I'm not used to seeing her like this. She looks beyond gorgeous." "I think you'll love it even more after you see her dressed," said Nancy. "I'll touch you up when you come out, Gwen, and maybe your aunt too." His mother wiped her runny mascara as she led him to the back room, knocking on the door as Laura let them in. "Good, you're ready," said their mother. "You can help me." "Yup, just a sec," said Laura, putting in her earrings. "Okay, off with the robe, Greg." Greg stared at his sister, who was in a flashy red, short cocktail-type dress. He looked down, amazed at how tall she looked with stiletto red slingbacks, and with the poofy skirt part of her dress barely reaching mid-thigh as she knelt in front of him, rolling some sheer nude hose up his legs. As she stood gently stretching the hose on each side, it was the first time he could remember seeing her have such cleavage, as it was impossible to miss in the low-cut V-shape of the strapless dress. "Hold your sister's shoulder and step in," said their mother as they lowered and opened his dress. It was strange grabbing her bare shoulder and trying not to focus on the dress rising up his body that he was about to be imprisoned in for the evening, as he stared at the side of her face, not used to seeing her so heavily made up. As it passed his waist, she shifted as he stood flat-footed to help his arms through the little straps as his mother guided the zipper up his back and snapped a few clasps. "It is perfect with the hair, I must say," said Laura, leaning in and squeezing his cleavage as the curled bun of her updo grazed his face. "Careful with the big bun, Laura," said his mother, teasing as she caused Greg to sneeze. "Sorry. There's so much hairspray on this thing," said Laura, quickly checking with her fingers to make sure it didn't move. "I'm not used to having this big updo." "Careful not to rub, or you'll ruin your makeup, Gregory," said his mother, handing him a tissue. "Just blot, dear. This is annoying." Wiping his nose as his mother was putting in his earrings. He stood there feeling the weight as his sister snapped a bracelet over his wrist and then secured the clasp around his neck. "Are you kidding, Mom?" whined Greg immediately as she opened his shoe box. "I can't walk in those." "Did you think you'd be in sneakers with this dress?" said Laura sarcastically, taking the shoe from her mother and sticking in his foot. "You'll be fine, dear," said his mother, as his sister fastened the strap. "If you feel wobbly, just remember heel to toe and you'll have to get comfortable holding Brad's arm like every other girl. If you do that, you'll balance easily until you feel more comfortable. Stand up and try them out. Honestly, they're not that high." I knew this could worry you, so I went as low as I could, but like Laura said, you've got to be in appropriate shoes, dear. "See, not so bad," said Laura as he stood up and she held his arm as he took a step. "Those are like 3-inch heels. Mom could have put you in 4.5s like me." "Ladies, your chariot has arrived," said Sebastian, knocking on the door. "And what a beautiful limo it is." "A limo," screamed Laura. "Yes, Alex's father got it for you said Irene. "Now let's get out there, because the boys are waiting." Greg was shaking uncontrollably as he took his first steps in heels, with his mother holding his arms. "Are you kidding me?" cried Greg, quickly forgetting about his heels as he looked across the room, getting the first real glimpse of himself in the full-length mirror as they turned the corner into the salon. "I know it may be shocking at first, honey," said his mother as she walked with him. "Stay calm and don't embarrass us." As Greg approached the mirror, his shock level from yesterday had escalated way beyond what he expected at seeing his image. It was hard not to focus on his body swaying, which resulted from his heel-to-toe motion with him in his crisscross strappy silver opened-toed 3-inch spiky sandals, which had a large prism-like jewel sparkling just above each big toe behind his cherry-red toenails. He was easily distracted by his pushed-up cleavage, held tightly in place by a firm underwire push-up bra, and above the jiggly falsies under his dress. He looked almost princess-like, dragging the small ruffled train of the sky-blue Versace Atelier floor-length chiffon evening dress as he walked. His left leg poked out slightly in a thigh-length thin slit as he moved closer to the mirror, gazing at the layer upon layer flowing from the skirt in this bell-type gown. He stopped putting his hands on his hips, realizing how ultra-tight the fully embroidered section was on top, pinching his natural waistline and holding up his boosted bust area. As he flexed his hips, he couldn't help but notice the amazing shine from the single simple round diamond pendant necklace that sat motionless between his breasts, and the long drop diamond earrings that almost touched his shoulder blades, swaying just a touch as he twisted. "Wait, is this going to wash out?" said Greg, pulling at his hair now and then, touching the back of his neck. "No way, Mom, she didn't." "No, wait, it's pined up like Laura's, right?" His mother smirked, looking at his sister as they crossed eyes at each other as he turned, pulling at his hair slightly. She could see he was getting upset as she walked over, rubbing his back as he twisted his neck. "When it's curled up, it looks shorter than it really is, honey," said his mother, comforting him as he was fidgeting. He twisted back and forth, lifting the hair on the back of his head, which was well of his shoulders now, and pulled a few curls, which sprung right back. He was stunned seeing his new cut and color, realizing now it just wasn't pinned up. His hair had been sheared to a long bob length a few inches off his shoulders now and also cut in many layers. At the top, it was still his natural brown color, but it slowly changed, becoming two-toned, getting lighter and lighter until it was honey blonde on the ends. His part now had been placed on the left side, and in front, his hair had been trimmed into long side bangs which swept across his forehead, blending into the curls on the right. Circling his head were layer after layer of vertical loose spiral curls, with the exception of the left side, where a rhinestone barrette pinned them behind his exposed ear, adding to the starlit look. "You look incredible," said Hillary, running over and hugging him. "The hair and the makeup. Nancy, you've outdone yourself. She looks like she should walk the red carpet." "I can't believe it's me," said Greg, again touching his neck and pulling at his hair. "I usually just wear my hair in a ponytail." "I know, sweetie, but not anymore. It takes some guts for girls like us to cut it, but trust me, it's liberating," said Nancy, unclipping one of her extensions and showing Greg. "I use them all the time, and you will too for variety. I save like 45 minutes every day that it used to take drying and flat ironing. Now, if you really want to stay curly, I can do a spiral perm or even a body wave in maybe 2 weeks or so, but not yet with all the chemicals we use to get the ombre look. For every day, you can just flat iron or loosely curl it, and bobs like this don't take much maintenance. It's perfect on a girl your age. I love the side bangs you added too. I think it's even prettier than the picture you showed me from that magazine," said Hillary to Nancy. "Really? I didn't know she showed you a picture of what she wanted." "Not that she doesn't look incredible, Nancy," said Irene, surprised and giving him a look. "My niece has certainly been full of surprises these last few days. Oh, her good friend Cindy gave it to me, and told me she's been dying to try it. I knew it went with the dress and I knew she was nervous, but I don't think she could have made a better choice," said Nancy, opening a teen magazine and pointing to a few pictures. "Ever since Miley bobbed her hair and did the ombre color with it, a lot of teen girls have been doing it. You know, before she went really dramatic and did the platinum pixie. Anyway, I took that look and just added the spirals to make it more formal. When I looked at Gwen's face shape, I knew it would work on her, kind of like Christina Applegate's look in Samantha Who, just with the ombre coloring. They have the same face shape." "They do, actually," said his mother, looking up and down at the magazine and Greg. "Amazing. It's time, girls," said Hillary. "You look beautiful." "One last touch-up please," said Nancy, just brightening up his blush before tossing a number of things in his bag. "Just pucker up for me and hold it until I tell you, sweetie." He was speechless as he puckered in front of everyone as she pumped up the pink at his cheekbones as he blinked almost uncontrollably, batting his long false lashes. It was hard to concentrate on what anyone was saying, seeing in the background staring at his eyelids decorated in pearly pink eye glitter, which faded perfectly into opal and soft blue shadows that were blended at the outer crease of his eyes. When she was happy with his cheeks, she unscrewed the cap of his lip gloss, adding a fresh sparkly coat on top of his cranberry lips and tossed it in his purse, handing it to him. His sister took his arm as they walked together as girlfriends out of the salon. It was surreal seeing Brad and Alex in tuxedos, each with a bow tie matching their dresses, waiting for them as they stood in front of the limo. "Wow, you look incredible," said Brad, bending down and kissing his cheek as he was ready to pass out, shaking. "Thanks," said Greg, looking down at his manicure as Brad had taken his wrist gently and tied a floral wrist corsage onto his wrist. "Are you cold?" whispered Brad, seeing him shaking as Hillary handed him a rose and a pin. "Do you need help pinning on the lapel corsages, girls?" said Hillary, taking it right back. "Here, I'll help you, Gwen. I know you're not used to those nails, and it's been a whirlwind day." You better treat her like gold tonight. She's been wonderful all day. Of course, Mother, said Brad, kissing his mother's cheek before putting his arm around Greg. I plan on it. Good, she's not used to being in heels like this either, so guide her and be careful, her dress is very delicate, said Hillary, lecturing him. Mom, I got it. We're fine, said Brad, halting his mother's lecturing. Trust me, she's in good hands. Fine, said his mother, stopping and grinning. Smile and give me some pretty poses, you guys. Big smiles. You guys look gorgeous together. Greg was now standing there, giving his best big smile as it was all sinking in that he was someone's prom date while Hillary was snapping away, as was his mother with her little camera phone. When she finished, Brad took his hand as he now found himself sitting next to Brad and across from his sister in the limo as they drove off. His sister practically attacked Alex, making out the second the limo turned the corner as he was almost relieved to be away from Hillary and the salon, gazing out the window and tuning out the world. The music was pretty loud, so there wasn't much conversation until Laura turned it down, taking a breath as she looked at him, smiling. So, I'm so glad you convinced your mom to move your flight, Brad, said Laura, opening her compact and fixing her lips. It was such a pleasant surprise for us when we woke up today. It was for me too. It wasn't easy, but now that she's met Gwen, obviously she knows how special she is, said Brad as Greg turned his head, realizing Brad's arm was around his shoulder now. Oh, she's been talking about this non-stop, said his sister, stirring the pot. Brad's so this, and Brad's so that. Really, said Brad, getting embarrassed as he squeezed Greg and softly rubbed his neck. Laura, whined Greg, looking at his sister nastily. Sorry, I didn't mean to spill any girl talk cuz, said Laura, feeling bad. Careful resting too much on his forearm. You wouldn't want to flatten any curls you just spent hours getting. Oh, sorry, said Brad, as Alex was relieved as he took his arm off him. Thanks, said Greg, sitting forward. Well. Your hair looks great, said Brad, making conversation. I hope you didn't cut it for just me. Well, I kind of did, said Greg, rolling his eyes out the window as his sister gave him a little kick. You're incredible. Not many girls would go that far for one night. I'm so flattered, but you could have shaved your head and I'd be dying to spend time with you, said Brad, slipping his fingers through Greg's. I wish I wasn't going to Germany. This is killing me. Believe me. This is killing me too, said Greg, giving his sister a dirty look as the limo pulled up. Everyone got out now as Greg had no choice but to hold onto Brad's arm as they walked inside. They sat for a while drinking some punch and sharing some small talk before Laura abandoned her brother as she and Alex found a quiet spot, exchanging tongues. It was weird as Brad was dragging him everywhere, showing him off, and introducing him to everyone as his date. He held onto Brad's arm, balancing as best he could as he grew accustomed to his shoes and being pranced around as Brad's eye candy. E.W. Gwen Hanlon, said Cindy, running over. Don't you look sexy tonight? I'm loving the look, girl. Hey Cindy, said Greg, giving her the dirtiest look. Thanks, and you look great too. I know, said Cindy, almost snarling at him as she squeezed Brad's bicep. But of course I'd look even better on a big strong boy's arm. What was that about? Said Brad. Is she mad at you for us getting together? I guess, said Greg. You know, I was the fill-in for her, right? Yes, I know, said Brad, looking into Greg's eyes. But you're no fill-in. I was never into her, and I was going for my good friend Alex. Then the most amazing thing happened and you showed up out of nowhere. It was a dream come true. Come on, let's dance. Before he knew it, Brad had dragged him onto the dance floor and positioned him, ready for a slow dance. Brad, I'm not much of a dancer, whined Greg as Brad wasted no time slipping his fingers between his and facing him. I doubt that, whispered Brad in his ear, sending a chill down his spine as his lips slightly touched his ear. It was nauseating to feel Brad's large right hand caressing his back and the tender touch of his left fingers intermingled with his right hand, rubbing it so softly. He was being spun ever so slowly as they danced, gently resting his head on Brad's shoulder, sickened by touch after touch, stroking him ever so tenderly. "May I have your attention, please?" said a voice over the speaker. "We'll be announcing our king and queen of the prom now. The votes are in, and if you've been nominated, please step onto the stage." "Good luck you too," said Cindy, coming over. "Oh, we didn't enter," said Brad. "We're just enjoying a nice dance." "Of course you did," said Cindy. "It was all Gwen was talking about at the salon today." "Don't worry, you two got my vote." Greg was ready to kill Cindy as he heard them call Brad and Gwen to the stage with 4 other couples. He walked hand in hand with Brad. They stood up there being announced as he watched the crowd stare at them in anticipation. He looked down, seeing his sister standing there with Alex give him a wink as she was grinning from ear to ear. "And congratulations to Alex and Laura, our new king and queen," yelled the announcer, as his sister went crazy screaming and crying as her boyfriend embraced her. Everyone hugged her as Greg felt a great sigh of relief, seeing the tiara pinned on her head as she wasted no time deeply kissing Alex as everyone applauded. When the kiss broke, she could barely contain her excitement as flashbulbs popped and she was on cloud 9. "Let's have one more round of applause please for Alex and Laura," said the announcer pausing. "Just before we let these lovely couples off the stage. Should Laura and Alex be unable to maintain this honor, please congratulate our first runners-up, Brad and Gwen." Greg stood stiff as a board, stunned as the spotlight was now shining into his face as people started applauding. He looked straight ahead, seeing Cindy barely able to contain her laughter as the white silk sash was lowered over his shoulder and he could feel the slight weight of a small tiara being placed on his head as the bobby pins scratched against his scalp, securing it. Photo after photo was being snapped as he stood there with Brad's arm around him, trying to figure out where he could crawl under a rock. "Ladies and gentlemen, let's honor our winners and runner-ups with their special dance now," said the announcer. He couldn't have been more scared as Brad led him to the dance floor as he slow danced with all eyes upon just the 2 couples. His knees were practically knocking as he tried keeping his eyes closed most of the time as he was being slowly twirled. "Don't be so nervous," whispered Brad in his ear as he felt a soft kiss on his neck. "I'm sorry we didn't win." "I don't care about that," said Greg, pulling his head back and looking at Brad. "I'm happy for Laura." "And that's why you're an amazing girl, Gwen," said Brad as he now heard a soft banging noise. He looked around seeing people clanging at their glasses and then noticed his sister imprisoned in a kiss with Alex before looking back up at Brad. As his eyes returned looking up at Brad's, he let out a nervous smirk as the clanging of spoons and forks intensified, and it only took an instant as he felt off balance as Brad leaned him back. Instinctively, he reached up with his free arm, trying to hold on and catch his balance as he grabbed around Brad's neck, and it was as if he was paralyzed, seeing Brad lower his head slightly towards his face puckering. At first it was soft and gentle as he felt the warmth of Brad's lips touching his, until it took a moment to realize exactly what was happening as Brad was moving his moist mouth ever so slightly and Greg had lost control of the moment, feeling Brad's wetness. He was in disbelief of the moment, feeling Brad's tongue enter his mouth as it swished against the inside of his cheek. It was a first for these new tastes and sensations, as he tried breathing through his nose and he could hear the crowd cheering as Brad finally lifted him to his feet and broke the kiss. He felt like the room was spinning as he could see his sister covering her mouth stunned as she witnessed his embrace as she swooped in, hugging him now. "Excuse us, boys," said Laura, grabbing him. "Let's go freshen up." She dragged him into the ladies' room, hugging him to console him as he was stunned. "You okay?" said Laura, fixing his lips. "I know you got caught off guard there." "I can't believe that happened," said Greg, touching his lips. It's okay, said Laura. So you're a pretty good kisser, said Cindy, coming in and teasing him and texting on her phone. I'll send you the video now so you can treasure the moment. Don't worry, I got a good shot of it. Cindy, please no more, whined Greg. Please, are we even now? It's time to go now, anyway, Laura chuckled. Come on, Mom's outside so we'll say goodnight, and this will all be over. They walked back outside collecting the guys as they headed outside to leave. Brad looked ready to cry as he knew he had to say goodnight and might never see Gwen again as he walked with his arm around him. There's my mom's car. Call me tomorrow, said Laura, giving a quick kiss to Alex as she walked away. It was an amazing night, and Brad, best of luck in Germany. Thanks, said Brad, kissing Laura's cheek and then putting both his hands in Greg's. Don't say much, okay, said Greg, dying to get out of there. I know it's hard, so good luck and thanks. Okay, said Brad, tearing up as he kissed Greg's hand and then pulled him in for a huge tight hug. He was whispering over and over in Greg's ear, kissing his neck before finally breaking the embrace and then lifted his chin, planting one last soft kiss on his lips, before Greg finally escaped to the car. Step on it, Mom, said Greg, slamming the back door. Please. Well, it appears my two lovely little prom queens had a good time tonight, said their mother, driving away. Mom, it was like a fairy tale, Laura beamed. I bet, said Irene, looking at Greg in the mirror. I hope you two kept your manners and were gracious young ladies this evening. We did, Mom, said Laura. And you'd be proud of Greg. Gwen was wonderful and charming. I'm happy to hear it, said Irene. Yes, and now get me out of all this crap, Mom, said Greg. Of course, honey, said Irene. They pulled up at home and went inside as Greg ran right upstairs. His mother helped him off with the dress and tiara and he dashed into the shower. When he came out, she helped remove the remainder of his makeup and he was happily back in his own pajamas and off to bed. In the morning, he popped out of bed and ran downstairs to have his breakfast. We leave in an hour, Greg, said his mother. I'll clip off the nails, and you can do them black like you normally do. Slick your hair back, wear this hat and sunglasses, and you'll be fine. You'll look very cool. Greg nodded, getting ready for his band's talent show audition as his mother helped him get ready. He had wiped the prior evening's memories from his mind when he got to the contest and hooked up with his bandmates. Holy crap, said Greg nervously, looking out through the curtain as they waited their turn. Relax, you'll do fine, said his mother, comforting him backstage and rubbing his back. Sorry, Mom. I'm just so nervous, Greg was shaking. Can't be more nervous than a pretty little girl on her first date, and you handled that just fine, whispered Irene, rubbing his back. And I'm sure you're not more nervous than you were on your first kiss. I saw the video, honey. Mom, that stuff isn't what I wanted. You know that, Greg replied. I was trapped. It doesn't matter, dear, said Irene, kissing his cheek. What matters is they were memorable moments, and now so will this be too, so shake out the butterflies just like you did last night and go get them. Excited, he hit the stage, playing with his buddies as they played their hearts out. When the contest was over again, he was again the runner-up, coming in second as they had a mild celebration, happy it was over. You guys were awesome, said Laura, coming backstage. Really hot. Honestly, I'm stalked, said Cindy, who was with her. Thanks, so are we even now? Whispered Greg. So fellas, keep working hard, and maybe next year, but can I give you some advice, said the talent show manager, interrupting them. Sure, said Greg, disappointed. You need something edgy. You guys are very bland, said the manager. Get an image makeover and hire a hot singer. If you had a hot chick and had a cool look, I would have signed you for the summer. The bass talent is there. Where are we going to get that? Said Freddie, the guitar player. Sir, what if they had her? Said Cindy, showing a few pictures from her phone to the manager. This girl is an amazing musician. Don't go by the prom dress, because when she dressed to rock, she looks amazing. Yeah, she's very hot, said the manager. Put that chick in some leather and lace and in this band, and I'll get you guys some gigs. If you come back here with her next weekend, you can start immediately. Damn, who is that, and how do we get her? Said Freddie. Oh, that's their cousin Gwen. She's gorgeous, said Cindy. Greg can reach her if he wants. All right, dude, yelled Freddie, before walking away. Get it done. Let's rock on. Oh shit, whined Greg. Yup, now we're even, said Cindy, walking away. Let me know if I should call Nancy. She can definitely do the rock look on you. Maybe punk out the hair a little, do the big lips, and I can lend you a leather mini skirt if you want. You'll be perfect, Gwen.